That's not Poland. Who made this? What is the original video? Oh god, yeah. I'm not surprised this version was made, but I'm also kind of disgusted. The 240p quality makes it even better. I like how it's just the skinny mustache man. It's not like the Soviet Union participated in taking Poland at all, right? Yeah, how many marks did the painter himself spend to make this? Mentioning Muslims rule in the Mediterranean. Wow, cool, and says Italy. Meanwhile, in Spain. No, I'm white, I don't have African blood, no reconquista, no, don't mention. I don't know why I found this post so funny, because these two regions of Europe did have historically quite the different experience with Muslims. The Spanish and also Portuguese held one of the longest grudges against the Muslims in Iberia, literally not stopping until they were fully kicked out centuries later. Meanwhile, in a not so distant similar peninsula, things were, well, they just didn't really care quite as much, I feel. Now, to be completely fair, for the most part, they were just kind of in Sicily. I guess it was easier to swallow since they were on their own island. Also, it was only for about 200 years, so a little bit of a different situation, but I just love these Spanish people absolutely losing it. Poland won't allow Ukraine to join EU without resolving historical issues. Historical issues, says the Polish Prime Minister. Just because we're on the same team doesn't mean we're friends. Rip Ukraine. I guess defending Ukraine from a power like Russia, which Poland also despises, is a little bit different than letting Ukraine into the EU for them. It's 1917. Looks like you're ready. Go play with your new toys. It's 1942 to 1945. Looks like you're ready. Go play with your new toys. How the tables reversed in the two world wars. First, it was the French allowing us to play with our toys. Then it was the Americans allowing the French to play with theirs in the Second World War. We gotta try out our new inventions, right? I would definitely like to play with a French 75, 2,500 aircraft, 2,300 tanks, 3,000 artillery pieces, and the Red Army invading Finland. Meanwhile, that same Red Army a few weeks later. Alright, what exactly happened here, Soviets? Though the Finns technically lost territory, they did take a lot of Soviet equipment with them. Not necessarily with them, I mean they destroyed it. Can someone tell Justin to stop? Will you be my Erica? From Justin to Amberlynn. Note, meet me outside of the school, please. Oh god. Oh, don't phrase it like that. Justin, don't use the Iron Cross. Oh my, Justin, please, Justin, stop. Oh my god. Okay, let's not do this. Average Croat asking out their crush. I feel like if I was gonna ask out my crush, I would theme it like from the Qing dynasty. Like, would you like to be one of my 12 wives? Check yes if yes. Look at that nerd Stalin, LMAO. What a loser. That's it. I'm creating Azerbaijan. Especially because he was born in Georgia after all. Had to make sure he broke up Armenia and Iran here. We don't want Iran to get too close, do we? China, the US always disturbs us like in Hong Kong and Xinjiang, right? Hope they never exist. Meanwhile, China without the USA. Oh, it's just all part of the Japanese empire. Yeah, we forget this because of how at odds the US and China has been as of recently, but you don't have to go that far back when the US and China were working together. Roosevelt approved of $25 million in military aid to China in 1940. He was also doing some Lend-Lease in 1941. China, first to fight, united China relief. Wait, this is actually pretty epic, wow. I mean, I guess we still would have been friends if the side we wanted to actually win the Chinese Civil War, well, won, I guess you could say. Meanwhile, on Wikipedia, when using American English, yes, the American Revolutionary War. Meanwhile, when using British English on Wikipedia, the Colonial Aggression War. Is this actually what they call it? Also known as the Revolutionary War or the American War of Independence, was a cowardly and treacherous act of military disobedience against Great Britain by the 13 dastardly colonies in North America. No way. Is this really real? I don't think it is. Imagine if we had lost it and retained America. Such horror. See, aren't you happy? You think you've seen it all, and then your 13-year-old blind beagle throws up on a French flag in the middle of the night. That's actually just impressive. This is the kind of divine portent that the Romans would have gone crazy over. I would have woken up and just thought, I guess God wants me to invade the Gauls, and he used my cute blind beagle to tell me. The message is clear. Invade France. Average Alexander the Great battle. I've been shot in the lung with an arrow. Dude, there's no way he survives this. I'm okay. How the freak did he survive that? I actually didn't hear this story. People often think of Alexander the Great as what if he didn't die so young, but it is is crazy that he ended up living as long as he did. The ripe old age of 33, even though he did get shot in the lung. How does one even survive that? Crassus, you stupid f— They're not running out of arrows! You assured me they'd run out of arrows, Crassus! I was assured of this! This doesn't look like a fun situation to be in. Man, getting shot with an arrow really does not seem fun. You'd really think he would have brought up some of his plate armor to protect his thighs here, honestly. Can't be out here with just your thighs hanging out like that. Parthian horse archers, go burr. Once again, history shows if you were able to master riding a horse and shooting a bow and arrow at the same time, you pretty much win. You just need to be able to get thousands of people to do that in synchronization. Fun fact, in some Latin languages, there exists the phrase a crassus mistake, or a very serious mistake bordering incompetence. Most language speakers can barely read a 700-year-old book. Meanwhile, Arabic speakers reading from the 6th century and almost understanding all of it. I've always really liked this part about Arabic. I mean, I can barely read Shakespeare, and that wasn't even 500 years ago. There's claims that Arabic has stayed mostly the same after all these centuries. There's also other languages that can do that too, though. This seems to be mostly an English problem. The Brits are beating us. Take this so they can't have it. Thank goodness both France and Russia said the same thing to us Americans. They didn't care who got it as long as it wasn't the British, so we win by default. It's kind of nice that the British were such an overwhelmingly powerful force throughout this time in history because we benefited a lot from that. This territory is unprofitable, indefensible, and the English are gonna play great power politics until they take it from us. Sell it to the Yanks! I mean, they got some cash out of it. Meanwhile, Abraham Lincoln and the Union, in awe to see the great nation of San Marino proposing a Republican alliance with the United States. I don't think we could have won this without the great nation of San Marino. San Marino proposed this alliance during the U.S. Civil War and actually made our U.S. President Abraham Lincoln an honorary citizen. I love this map on the Wikipedia article, U.S. and San Marino diplomatic relations. You can, kinda see him here if you squint your eyes enough. Oh look, it's the spread of the Aryans, starting north of the Black Sea, getting all the way to modern day France and Spain, also out to Iran and India, but was one place they didn't touch. Bro, stop. Okay, says these Aryans. Okay, says these Aryans. That was literally their secret kryptonite. Why didn't all these other places just say, bro, stop? You're kind of being cringe. Caucasian history is some real life dwarf poop. It is kind of funny because, no, we're not gonna get into that. Literal hermits in the mountains with lower class hill people solving logistics. It's interesting because the Aryans apparently were fine with the Alp mountain range, but this mountain range, nah, that was too much. A trader in Turkey bought $36 million worth of copper, but then when it was delivered, it turned out to be just a bunch of rocks painted to look like copper. He can't keep getting away with this. God dang it, Nasir. So sick of that guy. One day someone will think about you for the last time in eternity, and you'll be forgotten by the world and the universe. I'd like to rebuke that. Not if I sell low-grade quality copper. Nasir! Again, the first ever 1-star review from history. Here we are still talking about it, and it took place 1750 BCE. Yes, humans have always been getting pissed off at low-quality products. Eurocentric people, Africa has no history. Meanwhile, also pre-colonial Africa. Yes, there is some absolutely incredible architecture you can find all around the continent. And I love that this doesn't actually even include the Great Pyramids. These places can be found in Ethiopia, Egypt, Zambia, Ghana, Morocco, Mali, Kenya. Talk about goals! I hope my Wikipedia page looks like this one day. Ideally, I'll have an early life chapter, then a rise to power chapter, an expansion of power, my regime itself, the coup that will inevitably end me, and finally, my trial and execution. Can't wait for that part, just wonder how it's gonna be done. Firing squad, perhaps? Why did I even say that? Yeah, this has got to be Emperor Palpatine's Wikipedia, isn't it? World powers reacting to Korea declaring itself an empire. Oh, that's, yeah, that's not actually surprising, I will say. Korea's obviously had a tough history. At least they tried, though. This whole empire thing only lasted for 13 years there, but, well, I guess it was worth a shot. I feel like the biggest problem for Korea is they're just so poorly geographically located. Like, it's not even their fault whether they were controlled by the Chinese or the Mongols or, of course, the Japanese. They really just couldn't get anything going. I mean, obviously, in the early days, they were kind of nice and divided. At least they weren't ruled over by a separate power. But as of the last, like, 1,000 years, they've just kind of struggled. It's out here just a big old tributary state for so long. Being tolerant to other religions, oafing everyone equally. That's how the Mongols decided to roll, and people wonder how they got so big. Isn't it obvious? When I said I wanted equal voting rights, I meant men shouldn't vote either. Benito, probably. We will fight this splendid little war and liberate Cuban people from the Spanish yoke. I can neither neither afford nor win this war, but I shall seek an honorable defeat. That's how the Spanish rolled in the Spanish-American War. Man, the story of Spain and their like just inevitable collapse is kind of painful. Obviously, the Ottomans take the dying man of Europe because they were dying for a lot longer. Spain could be the dying man of like Western Europe, though, if you think about it. How the UK sees Belgium. Ooh, that's nice. How the US sees Belgium. Tasty. How Germany sees Belgium. I've seen these jokes so many times, but it is still pretty true. Germany loves their road to France. Germany probably loves Belgium being there. Speed bump of Europe. The French be like, we've learned from the past and we'll never let so much power be in the hands of a single person. Minutes later, OMG Napoleon, bonjour. They said sorry, and then once he came back, they were like, can we take that back? Can we go back to doing everything that he wanted us to do again? That must have been the craziest return in history. Like literally. I cannot imagine if I was a French citizen and Napoleon came back from being exiled. I would have lost my mind. People, men, dressed and acted like men back in my day. Meanwhile, men back in the day. And there's literally countless examples of this throughout all of history. Men have always dressed, well, not always exactly like men. It was kind of a common thing too throughout the entire world. The boys now crack another beer? Hell yeah. Meanwhile, the boys back then.
One-on-one sword fight, officer.
One-on-one sword fight, officer.
Yo, respect the 1v1. Respect the 1v1, guys. Back up. Respect the 1v1.
I love that this is still happening to this day when you watch. Yep. Well, the 1v1 was respected. There's so many great videos of this game. Why do you always surrender? Says this normie. Meanwhile, over 1,000 battles won, and this is the most in history, technically. They take one little itsy bitsy L in the most recent global conflict, and everyone loses their mind. And they're only known for that. That's got to sting. They just need to get another dub. I mean, to be fair, they could have gotten a light dub against the Vietnamese in the 50s, but I mean, even the Americans couldn't end up beating those Vietnamese. So, you're my new neighbor, and you're in a band? Yes, sir. Can we make a Lord of the Rings movie? I want to play Gollum. You have exactly 10 seconds to get the freak out of my house. I guess the Beatles wanted to make a Lord of the Rings movie? Oh, thank God they didn't do this. I don't want to contribute to like the narrative that the Beatles are cringe, but I like them a lot in high school. My opinion of the Beatles has weirdly changed over time. I don't really know why. To be fair, he would have said the same thing to Peter Jackson. Oh yeah. All things said, I'm glad that the Lord of the Rings played out the way it did, even if the new stuff isn't really that good. We still got the trilogy. Big thanks to the patrons. Month 1 in Drew's basement. Kansas was mentioned. I can't sleep without Drew's voice. Drew's Argentinian Grandpa. I'm back, Amateur boys. Archaeology. aPhatNarwhal. Carmel S. Connor DaBeautiful-MEGAN-Underwood. InquisitorXarius. KirinoIsBestGirl. Tambre, Tyrol. The Mexican KingBearHaze. Fredrik Tibblin. And ZaneyBoi.